6, 1993, a summer day that changed lives across the Tri-Cities forever. 4 lives tragically lost and more than 250 people hurt in one of the deadliest tornado outbreaks ever in Virginia.
Tonight, we're on your side at 6 with team coverage, remembering the impacts those devastating storms left behind 30 years ago. Desiree Montilla is with us as residents remember that terrifying day. But first, meteorologist Ross Runner is taking a look back at the impacts of that storm. Ross?
That's right, Makia and Jasmine. Hard to believe it'll be 30 years this Sunday. It was a Friday afternoon, 1:30 in the afternoon to be exact, when the first tornado touched down in the southwestern corner of the city of Petersburg. It rapidly intensified to an F4 with winds of over 200 miles per hour as it moved through Old Town Petersburg. It continued on with a path of death and destruction into Colonial Heights, into Prince George County, and into Hopewell as well. Many of you will remember 3 women were killed inside the Walmart in Colonial Heights. We had a 28-year-old man killed in Prince George when a building collapsed on him as he sought shelter. Dozens and dozens of people were injured, nearly 200 in the Walmart alone, and in all 18 tornadoes touched down across southern Virginia that day. And longtime residents of this area will have vivid memories of where they were and what they were doing at that time. Desiree Montilla is here, and you have some compelling stories, Desiree, even some emotional stories from people who remember that day.
Yeah, one woman was in tears, Ross, when I was talking to her this morning. One man who didn't want to go on camera with me told me that was the worst experience of his life, and he hopes that he will never have to go through something like that ever again. A dark day still on the minds of many living here in the Tri-Cities.
Very clear still in my mind.
August 6, 1993 is the day Bill Talley will never forget.
During the morning, I was up at Fort A.P. Hill with Boy Scouts. It was at the National Jamboree site at the time, and we were doing just strictly a day visit. Well, rain started coming on in and got in class of guys, and then my pager back in those days started buzzing a lot to call my office.
As Talley tried to call his office.
And then I heard on WRVA at the times about a tornado sitting down in Petersburg and also over in Colonial Heights. So I called an office above my office to ask them what was going on. They told me what had happened. I said, is my office fine? She said, yes, it's all down the Old Town area. Followed along the river and then jumped over to Colonial Heights.
The twister moved through Old Town Petersburg, causing brick buildings to collapse. Talley's office didn't have any damage, but he remembers what he felt seeing the aftermath.
It really was an area of just quietness in a lot of ways. You know, business not open or whatever. I came down that night just from a distance to see, and it just really pretty, with the lights out and everything, it was pretty unusual from that point.
The tornado also tore through this Walmart in Colonial Heights, ripping the roof off the store.
I just remember the Walmart being so close and that it was crazy.
Devastating images Sadie Barlow remembers seeing as a child.
It was crazy. It was just shock and awe that would happen so close. It really knocked out a lot of the town that they had just rebuilt. And so it's pretty tragic, but luckily Petersburg is getting it back together.
I also talked to one woman who also didn't want to go on camera, but she also grew emotional talking about how the tornado destroyed her home and business here in Petersburg as well. And those were some of the memories that we were just talking to people about. A lot of them remembering exactly where they were that day, as you were, Ross, earlier at the 5 o'clock hour too.
Exactly, yeah. I was at my home in Richmond. Very concerned about my family here in Prince George County and the Tri-Cities. Thankfully, they were all okay that day.
Thankfully, they're all safe and good to go.
Exactly. Yes, thank you, Desiree. The powerful tornado